Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Paul Brown Show. This evening, my guest will be Miss Tammy Broadaway, and we will be dealing with a very important topic. It'll be mental illness. Hello, Miss Broadaway. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank
Tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
you. My name's Tammy Broadaway, and I was a school counselor for about 15 years. I left and went overseas, worked for the military for a little while, and now I'm back and I've started my own agency, Innovative Counseling Services. So we provide outpatient therapy to members of the Charlotte community and areas.
Okay. So how long have you been in this field?
I've been a counselor probably since 1998, and then I've been in mental health, like strictly clinical, for about 11 years or so.
Mental illness. What made you choose this topic?
I think it's important, and a lot of times it's overlooked, especially in certain communities. We don't want to address mental illness like, why is this person acting this way, or why do I feel tired, or I'm just overwhelmed. We want to sweep those things under the rug, but they're really part of your mental health, which is part of your whole body, mind, and spirit, I feel. So that's why I think it's important to talk about it, let people know that there are resources for help and how to access the help.
Okay. So how does a woman's mental health impact her overall mental health?
Like I said, your body, mind, and spirit, I think those are all connected together. So if your mental health is off, which means, why am I sleeping all the time? Why do I always feel sad? People don't realize that that's a sign of your mental health, and it can cause other health symptoms or escalate conditions you might have. For example, if a person's diabetic and they get very angry, their sugar may fall or rise, and some people don't connect, why is this happening to me? Or people with migraines, certain mental health issues trigger those. They might make you have more migraines, or you have to take time off work, but why? And there's a way to get help for that.
Why is it important that we seek some type of help for issues like this?
I always like to describe it to people as shaking up a soda can.
Okay.
So you shake that can up, and what happens? It explodes eventually, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you try to keep those things under pressure, but eventually they're going to come out. Like, you might lash out at your child or your coworker when it's really not about them. It's about what's going on inside of you internally at that time.
I know in a relationship, can that have something to do with someone's mental, issues and stuff like that?
Problems in relationships?
Correct.
They can, sometimes you might notice someone's always moody. Like, why are you moody? I don't know. Or they do things that you really can't explain. And then when you look back, sometimes you're like, okay, that's what they were going through, if they seek the help they want. And it's important to encourage people that you love to get help. It's okay to talk to someone. It's in a safe environment. And I would, there's ways you can approach people with that. Some people are resistant, or they want to pray about it, or they want to ignore it. But you can be persistent and I'll go with you. Let's go to talk to a therapist. Or a lot of employers have employee assistance programs where you can get free counseling, 6 to 12 sessions, and that's a way to start with your therapy.
Why do a lot of people feel like going to therapy is a helpful thing, instead of thinking that it's something that they need to be either ashamed of, or something that they don't need?
There's a stigma with mental health.
Yes, ma'am.
And no one wants to think I'm crazy or something's wrong with me. And that's why a lot of people don't seek help, I think. Some people just don't know that the help is available, that you can go out and talk to a therapist, and maybe I don't have to pay for it, because insurance might be a barrier sometimes, or financial needs. But I think that's why a lot of people don't seek the help that they need.
When a lot of the individual comes in seeking your help, how do you get it started, to get them to actually start talking about what the issue is?
One of my first questions that I ask clients when they come in is, tell me a little about yourself. You know,
Okay.
start where are you from? Do you have kids? That opens it up and makes them feel more comfortable. And then out of that, things come up like, why are you here? I might have a problem with my job or my relationship, my husband, whatever the issue is, it'll come out. My kids, sometimes people just feel overwhelmed and they have problems with life. I hear that a lot. Like I said, what's the reason for coming in? And they'll say, life is the reason I'm coming in, that I'm just feeling overwhelmed in life and I need help on how to sort these things out and what to put on my plate. Sometimes we have too many things on our plate and you don't know how to sort those things out. And that's what counseling can do. Just gives you, we don't tell you what to do in counseling. We kind of guide you to your own answers, because deep inside, you know your answers. You just need someone to kind of open those things up and say, hey, that is a problem, that my finances are out of control and that's causing me stress and problems in my marriage. Just connecting the dots sometimes.
How is it important that you, as the counselor, get an individual to feel comfortable, so that they are able to talk to you? Because a lot of people, we don't like talking.
You're right. And that's a good question. Most people are shy when they come
Correct.
into counseling. You don't really see who they are when they come in. So those icebreaker questions, or what do you do when you get angry? What causes you anxiety? Just asking probing questions, which means who, what, when, where, why, those kind of questions, helps them open up more to you. And a connection, sometimes you might have a client who doesn't connect with you.
Okay.
And if you ever feel that, if someone has a counselor that they don't connect with, it's best to stop that relationship, because it's not going to be helpful. There's no trust, and that's an important part of counseling, trusting the person you're talking to. So that does happen. I try to make them feel as comfortable as I can, and it's more like a conversation. It's not like I'm analyzing you or evaluating you, which we are indirectly, but it's more of a conversation to find out more about who you are, what you like to do, what's causing you problems in your life at this time.
At what point, I know it probably won't be like the first visit, but what is kind of like an average, do you think, amount of visits should someone have in order to really be able to for you to get to where they are at?
It depends on the individual, and also trust in me as a therapist, because they might come in and say, I have a problem with my husband. He's driving me crazy. Or I have a problem with my wife. So then when you find out, talk to them more, building that relationship, they trust you more, and then more things are revealed. Well, really, I have a problem with my finances. And that's why I'm here, because I'm having this problem and I don't know how to control it. So we try to seek answers through conversation again. Because sometimes some people are open and they might tell you everything in the first session. Rare, but it does happen. But some people, it might not be till like that fourth session when you really get to know more about that person.
Because they're going to wear that mask.
They do.
And they're going to wear it until they kind of like feel like, okay, I can tell you some of the innermost of my, what's going on in my life.
Yes.
Medication. Do you feel like that's sometimes helpful for people who have some type of mental illness?
Everyone doesn't need medication. The majority of the clients that I have now, they're professional people who are just having problems with life. Like they might be having a midlife career crisis or empty nest syndrome. They don't know what to do now that all the kids are gone. Military, I have some of those populations, and they're transitioning to Charlotte, and that's a new lifestyle.
Correct.
So that is one way that we can talk about it.
So when a company comes to you and say, okay, I have an employee who needs some help in it, how do you go about getting to that, to that employee?
If an employee is referred to me because of their job, generally they know the reason why, and they're invested in their counseling because their job is important and they want to keep their career going. And we'll address those issues. What led you up to this point? Why do you feel overwhelmed with your job? What can we do differently? And developing coping skills is important, because that does happen sometimes. People are referred because of job performance.
Correct.
And they're required to come to EAP.
When someone's about to lose their job, how do you deal with that topic? You know, how do you get them to understand that life doesn't end because of this ending of your job?
You know, life doesn't end, but what we need to do is, what are you good at? We'll identify some more goals for that person if they're not at retirement age, but what are you good at? And let's keep on, what other jobs can you look at now? What are the careers? And I know it's not easy in this market, but it's stressful. And again, developing coping skills on, hey, I'm about to lose my job. I have these financial responsibilities. What do I need to do to reorganize my finances or reorganize my mind to get ready for this layoff that's coming up, or termination, whatever the situation might be.
With the expertise that you have, do you see a lot of people that feels like suicide? We see a lot of that in our society. Why should someone ever get to that point where they feel like that is the only option they have?
I think they're overwhelmed with life, and they've lost hope. And when you lose hope, what do you have left? Because you always have to have some hope and faith that things are going to get better. And some people who are in that situation might be isolated and not have supports in place, or they might have a mental health condition and that condition is not managed. Like they might need medication management, and they just feel like there's no other way that I need to end this right now. So I do encourage those we have referral sources where we might send them to a psychiatrist for medication or higher levels of service. They might need an inpatient assessment at some times.
Have you ever seen that throughout your time working as a counselor? And if so, how does that affect you?
You know, even counselors need self-care. So I try to take care of myself, because a lot of counselors have counselors, because who are you going to talk to about these issues? So it's important I have seen people who were suicidal. I've never had anyone actually attempt, so thank God for that. But when you really talk to them, even children sometimes feel like that. They're overwhelmed and they want to end their life, but why? Maybe they're not getting the attention they need. I've seen a lot of children being bullied at school to the point that they just can't take it anymore. They don't want to live, which is sad, but it happens. So that's when you got to get natural supports in place for that child. The parents need to get more involved. The school needs to get more involved, and identifying friends that they can talk to, as well as a therapist.
What's the youngest age you've ever had to counsel? And how does that feel different than like an older?
My experience when I was with CMS, I was a K through 12 counselor.
Okay.
So I had 5-year-olds and then 18-year-olds. So really, most people want what? You want to feel accepted and loved and someone to hear you and care. And you can apply that with all of those levels, even though their interests might be different, or what their goal is. Like in elementary school, what's your goal? Just to have friends and be comfortable in your environment. Whereas in high school, you're getting ready to go to college and you're focused on that, or you're getting ready to leave school and be independent. Go to tech school, go to the workforce, whatever that is.
How challenging was that dealing with that age group, and especially the younger kids? How you deal with that?
Younger kids, I like children, so it's not really difficult for me to work with them.